over the next week, and hopefully we'll be able to get that started as soon as possible. It's really important to us that we continue with this investigation for the sake of transparency, as well as to get down to the root of the problem and to make sure that we're addressing those issues now and into the future. So that is that's in process at this point. For the board dashboard, one thing I would like to know is that our attendance is going to be dropping. Was that reflected on this one, Desiree? Yeah, our attendance is dropped by 6 students. It was a family who had to relocate at this time and will not be able to attend our school due to proximity. So at this time, we are going to continue with our current recruitment efforts and look at strengthening those in the future, going into next year and through the summer. At this time, though, we don't have any additions to make to that. I know that Desiree participated in a local event over the last couple of weeks and had recruitment materials there and was reaching out to our local community. There's also been talk about reaching out to outlying communities, Colfax, Uniontown, beyond, thinking we can't grab more folks from the outskirts. And also, if you know, our restraints and elopement have improved dramatically. This Janelle has put some new programs in place. Attendance on our tracker is still looking good. We're over 90%, which is our bar. We want to make sure that our attendance remains above 90%. Yeah, other than that, our weekly meeting really covers the elopements and restraints, and we've attached both of those. One thing that Janelle did notice and we discussed was that in focusing our efforts and our energy on the students with the highest needs, we're noticing gaps in our regular classroom setting. And so we are working with our instructors as well as our AAs to make sure we're addressing those issues and that we're working to head them off before they happen. I know that the instructors have been working diligently on ensuring that students are engaged and that they're addressing issues in the classroom. Janelle's been observing them throughout the week and giving them feedback to make sure that they are able to respond to some of the issues that she may see and also able to celebrate the wins. I know I spoke with one instructor today who said when Janelle came into their observation, she remarked at how calm and collected the class was and how great it was to see that they were all engaged in their learning activities. So that was really good feedback, just kind of on the fly today.
Yes.
All right, and did anyone have any questions around any of this? Concerns?
I had one that escaped me. Oh, actually, so it's only tangentially related. In the dashboard, a lot of the reasons given for students leaving the school are left to dissatisfied with the school. Mm-hmm. Do we have more granularity and more actionable data on that, or is that all was reported?
My knowledge is a drop down.
Okay.
However, I believe it would be worthwhile going forward to maybe do more in-depth surveys of those folks.
Yes.
That's something you can do, where we do follow-up surveys to dive down into the reasons why they were dissatisfied.
Yeah, if they're willing to share that with us, that's incredibly valuable information that we can use to identify and to shore up weak points.
I think that is something I can work with Janelle on. She is highly data-driven. I think she'll be able to give us some really good starting points in order to identify those issues.
Awesome.
Is there a chance any of them might return, especially if we do that outreach?
Well, and that's a really good point. I know I spoke with a parent who left and who would like to return if the school is able to operate safely and effectively and meet the needs of all the students in the way that she sees is correct. So I think that understanding that there are issues that parents would, once fixed, be willing to come back if they're no longer here. You know, for example, you know, if they feel the class is too large or if they feel that their educational needs aren't being met. or for, for whatever reason they left, if we're able to address that and then came back, I think that that is true for a lot of parents out there who have already gone. Yes. And we could definitely include that in our survey. So, if changes were made, would you return? What would those changes be?
How would you want to be notified of them is another important question.
Yes.
We need to make sure we're respecting people's boundaries as much as we can.
Excellent. Very cool. And then, did anyone else have any comments, questions, or concerns? All right, so we'll move on to our action items for discussion. We're going to be discussing the academic performance framework, formation of needed committees to work on planning for the rest of this year and the future, rotation of board members to attend SEC meetings, chamber luncheon, and then scheduling joint board SEC town hall. So first, we'll start with the academic performance framework. This is a document that is due tomorrow, and it's one that is published on the commission's website that details our performance related to our neighboring district. And it also details our performance and it drills down into categories of different demographics. And it talks about our attendance and our goals that we set for ourselves and how we're performing related to those goals.
And just to make sure everyone's on the same page, this isn't for this school year, it's for last school year.
Correct. So the academic performance framework we are working on is for 2022 to 2023 and for our performance related to the year before. So I had partnered with Dave to help give some insight into last year and hopefully he'll give us more information as it relates to our response. At this time, I think it will be a bit challenging because I know the school opened mid-pandemic. Yeah, fresh staff, fresh model, and then a lot of changes and a lot of turnover. So I think that we want to be able to speak to the measurable results. We want to be able to speak to what we're doing to improve upon those. This is a public document, so if you were to go to the commission's website, you can look at any charter schools, academic performance framework, and financial performance, and see where they land. So I actually went on and looked at a couple of other schools. Not everyone includes responses. So it was kind of hard to get an idea of what good looks like. And I know that I tend to be a little bit old windy bags when it comes to these things. So partnering with Dave and also, with our Watch Partners partners, trying to find a good way to respond in a way that represents the school well and what we're doing to improve. I know one piece we want to speak to is that we really showed improvement in our self-set goal, which was we wanted in math and ELA to have students who scored low or below expectations to show at least to have at least a 50% improvement in that metric, and we meet and do that in those areas, and that is something to celebrate because even though our students are missing their marks compared to the year before, they were doing a lot better. And so being able to speak to what we're doing to help students improve and how we are gearing ourselves towards them meeting these goals rather than just improving upon the performance. So I think that's the ultimate message behind this.
Yeah.
But that is due tomorrow, and thanks to the commission for giving us an extension on that. I was asking a lot of questions and it was due last Friday. And they said, we understand there are a lot of things going on right now. And if you would like to submit that next Friday, that is fine. And I said, thank you so much. That's amazing. So we've had a little bit of extra time to knock this out.
Mm-hmm.
That's very nice. And formation of needed committees, work on planning for the rest of the year. Kind of thoughts behind this, budget, policy review, website, school organizational needs, for example, classroom arrangements, calendar. These are all areas that we're going to want to be actively working on leading into the next year should we be open, and things that we need to be identifying, opportunities or strengths, and making changes, proposed changes so we can bring it in front of the full board and look at it before the time comes, because we don't want to be reactive. We definitely want to be proactive and planning right now and be able to show that we're doing our due diligence in preparing for next year should it come. So on that note, looking at formations of these committees, I think it's important for us as board members to think about things that we're passionate about and things that we could contribute to. And Alan, I want to say, you're the obvious pick for the finance. Part of this is part of, looking at our budget for next year, possibly contracts, things that we may want to continue or things we may, evaluate. We just submitted a request to renew our lease for our hockey machine. So things like that, I would want to throw at a budget committee to say, is this something that makes sense? Should we look at other sources? Just kind of things to think about. And then at our next board meeting, we can solidify that. So for everyone here, be thinking about, what you feel you could really contribute to, and what you'd be excited about working on. Yeah. For example, policy review. Mm-hmm. I think that's something that you've been really focused on. Yeah. So, looking at how we can implement some of those changes that Kim has identified, mm-hmm. Putting that down and moving forward. So things to think about. And then the one I want to throw in there, student engagement. I don't know if that would fall under one of these topics, but I think that that's a really important piece to look at, because I was, in responding to the academic performance framework, reading about attendance and the impact it has on students and what can impact attendance, and student engagement was a really, really big piece. And so how can we ensure that our students are engaged in the process in school? I remember when I was a kid, there was assemblies and activities, school-wide activities that brought us together. And we have the sing-along during Christmas time, and we have field trips where we'll have blended classrooms working together. But are there things we can do in the future to ensure that our students are able to participate in some of these more communal activities more regularly to improve engagement? I know that my student wants to come every Friday to make sure she's at her board meeting for her student council. So when I talk about taking her out early on Friday, she insists that no, she must attend school that day. So how can we make everyone that excited to come to school? So things to think about.
One thing though, kind of on that, yeah, the attendance is drastically improved this year versus last. Points for huge improvements there. Yeah. So we definitely want to sustain those, but there's definitely also room for further improvement.
Before COVID, my daughter was so excited to get perfect attendance because they kudos for it. They celebrated you, they talked about it, and that specific incentive may not fit into our model, but could you do like classroom celebrations? Mm-hmm. If our class can meet a certain goal and our class gets like a pizza card, I don't know. But just things to think about. Make it fun, make it less about we're not here, but more about I just want to go there, mom, or dad, or grandfather, or person who watches me all the time, or whatever that may look like. Rotation of board members to attend SCC meetings. I think it's important that we all get to go. And I'm thinking maybe we could do like a survey, or right now we can talk about days that we could, days in which we could attend. I know Kim was saying that we are going to be rotating through an every other week cycle to our board meetings and cycling between Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I believe this next one will be on a Tuesday because this last one was on a Thursday. So if people are able to go on a Tuesday, not a Thursday, and that naturally balances itself out, then I think we figured it out. possibly what we can do is, if y'all want to email the board at mypcm.org email tonight and just say Tuesday or Thursday, or specific dates, or however that looks. And I can work with Kim to get a calendar. We can just go from there. Or even if you have your own councils outside of the SCC and you're like, I'm good, that is also okay. And Chamber Luncheon, May 7th, 12 to 1. And this is where we get to talk about our school and the cool things we're doing. They've got a letter together, and we're thinking we're going to take our traveling museum exhibit to show the cool things that we're doing in our school. It's a Tuesday, 12 to 1. And there will be separate tables set up there, so we could all go if we are able to, as long as we don't clump together in groups and discuss board activity together, as long as we're aware of our place in the room, and due diligence to make sure that we're not a forum. I think it'd be really great to show, to represent and show support for the school and our community through that. It's super good. And I think that was saying it's $20 a person. And if we need assistance with that, please email board at mypcm.org and we will see what we can do. And then scheduling the joint board SCC town hall to review more detail the proposed changes to the educational model. This came on who unmute him. Or no, not yet. So that's something I will work with Kim on because I don't have a date yet. So we'll figure out what that looks like. And before we move on, are there any questions, concerns, comments?
Just this, Robin, the audio isn't great here on my end, so I might have missed something, but on that second point, formation of needed committees, do we have things we need to consider and come back to as a group? For example, maybe it makes sense for 1 or 2 board members to be on each of these 4 groups, along with some representatives from the SCC and staff. Do we have a to do there?
That is something that we will need to identify, to like which board member would like to participate or lead each of these committees, and then we'll need to recruit members to be on them.
Okay.
So I think, for example, like with the policy review and the budget, I feel like you, like Alan and Chris, are like obvious picks to head those. But if other board members would like to participate, we'll have 2 board members per committee, and then we'll recruit from the SCC. And I mean, we can even put it out on Parent Square to our community to let them know that these committees are formed, these are in the meeting, I'd love to increase participation, and also put it out to our staff, whoever's interested in, like I said, participating or promoting these activities. I think it's really important to make sure that we're showing representation and that we're getting feedback from everyone who's involved. And for example, accessibility, and when we're looking at policy review and the website, those are pieces that are, accessibility, or it affects both. For example, it's hard to, sort through our policies on our website. So part of it could be, how do we organize those policies in a more accessible way so that we can sort through them? And then how do we make them more accessible on the website? So, I mean, these even overlap. So if someone's interested in both, there's nothing saying you can't participate in both. For example, if you were interested in the accessibility piece and policy piece, I would just want to make sure that we keep those separate from each other to recognize that they are separate needs and will have different inputs as well.
We put this over on the website. Because of the biggest years.
Sweet.
Okay, thank you,
Right.
Robin. And for finding.
Any more questions? Concerns? All right, so that opens us up to Q&A for board members. And this time we have set aside for board members to ask questions, share information as a way to help new board members get to see on board business. So this is really something that Bev and I thought would be important. When I joined the board, there's a huge learning curve. I've never done this before, and I did all my due diligence, and I read everything I could, and I reached out to Gina on Board on Track. I still have questions, and I asked all of them. I have no shame, but this is just an opportunity right now that we're all together and we can all share information, anecdotes, to have a chance to ask questions or get feedback. Things maybe if there's hiccups in the process, things that you might want to address or change for future board members.
Well, sure, Robin. I share your experience of a very steep learning curve. Yes, I have a finance background, but I'm a newbie to the open meetings law and the openness in general of being on a governmental board. And I like that openness, but it's just something new to get used to. I've really learned and appreciated the value of our strategic partner, Dual Growth Partners, too. They, of course, keep our legal set of records, our books. They do our accounting. They also do so much more strategic planning. They find contacts when we need something, and I'm really grateful for them.
Absolutely. And I found that they offer so much more in-depth knowledge. It's not just someone who balances QuickBooks, but they're knowledgeable on the why behind what they need. They're knowledgeable on potentially policies, laws, rules, regulations that impact some of the questions we have. They never really refer us away. They always seem to have an answer, which is really amazing. They're awesome partners.
Yes, and their systems are quite good too.
Yes. Well, let me go over. So, as new board members, do you feel, is there anything that I suppose I or we could do to, I guess, disseminate information better? Are there things that you really want to know but don't know how to ask for it? Have you had a chance to connect with Gina? Yes, she's better.
Yeah. I connected with Gina, she was very well. I was trying to get into everything. I had problems to get over the board on track, and that took a bit to get back into. But after that, it seems most of the questions I had was either answered by the website or Gina answered them well before I passed.
One thing I've noticed is we have amazing partners, and I don't feel like we understand how to fully utilize them. For example, instructional partners, they help develop curriculum, and they help with professional development. They help administrators, they help the whole school. And they have been working with the instructors directly for the past few months on their curriculum and helping them develop lesson plans, because that was the need. And when I told them what was happening, they shifted their focus and they helped Jamil today in the classrooms, doing observations, offering insight and feedback, and also offering tools and resources to her based on their observations and based on what we're working with right now. And they're provided to us through a grant, I believe, with the Gates Foundation. But it's something that we could really lean more heavily on them. And it's just something that we didn't understand the impact of until just recently. And I feel the same with Board on Track. I was like, Gina, help! I need to know how to, provide better onboarding, right? Because my onboarding was a little chaotic. So what can we do? And she helped me develop a list, and she helped me copy in links, and then I incorporated that into the letter Bev had sent out, and it was just really good to have that partner just to lean on and to get ideas and information from. So I feel like in this setting, and I guess in the educational setting, there are a lot of resources, but not direction as to how to find them or to get them. So if anyone has questions, I know that, Chris, you've already spoken with Jessica and the commission and gotten some of your questions answered, which is amazing because they're partners too. Even though they're oversight, they're partners in this process.
Yeah.
They're, it's intimidating, but they can also be really helpful. And I think that we need to recognize that the commission, law charters, our school, other charter schools, we're all in it together in the long run. We're all here to see the same outcome, which is a successful schools, successful students, happy families, strong communities.
Exactly.
I think it's important to recognize that, to make sure we know that we are all on the same team, just in different ways. And that took me a lot of conversations to figure that out. But, decisions are made with purpose and not with good intentions. So, yeah.
Yeah, one thing that was kind of interesting, speaking of the commission, I've sat in and watched a few of their recorded meetings and stuff, and the ways that they conduct business can be really informative to how we should be trying to move toward conducting our own business, because while we're at a different level, we're trying to accomplish the same the same overarching goal of ensuring that students in Washington's charter schools are successful, that they have a safe, welcoming environment, that they're learning what they need to be effective in high school and college and beyond.
And I attended the last meeting in person, and it's not posted yet, but it was informative. And also, and this is on a side note, it was good to see that they're people too.
Yeah.
And that they're in a meeting like us. They're reviewing business. They're taking breaks and calling names, and it's all.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all founded in the same principles, the same philosophy. So that was really good to see, because sometimes it's easy to, I guess, be intimidated by the word or the law is kind of intimidating, but now I'm part of that, so it's being reflective. I'm part of the board. What does that mean? What do I want it to mean to people? How do I want to be perceived? And so that's something I reflect on a lot.
Yeah,
it's important. It's important to recognize, I guess, our place and the importance of our roles and our positions in governance of the school, and ensuring that it can be successful and that it's a cooperative relationship, and that we can have as much or as little impact as we choose. And I feel like it's important that we set our sights on being as impactful as possible in the best way possible. Yes. All right. Well, despite our late start, I'm going to open it up one more time for questions, concerns.
One thing further on Q&A for board members, Robin, if any of you would like a breeze through our financials, a tour and our business processes, I'd be happy to oblige. Just let me know. We can meet at a coffee shop or whatever works for you.
Awesome. No, that's amazing, because our financials look really scary at first because there's a lot of forms and spreadsheets. But when you get down to like the basics, it's really not that intimidating. We have to know where to look because there's a lot. And then you're like, oh, it's this chunk right here. Okay.
I did start noticing, and this is generally recent notice. Before I had thought about joining the board, I remember talking to other parents, seeing how they felt about it, and it seemed like whenever you brought it up to another, member of the school, seemed to be an off-putting subject. I've noticed it's more of an open, people are willing to get to know what's going on there. They think the board's a little more welcoming. I've heard great things from other parents for the kids as classrooms, which has been a great thing to see, the change that we're already making. It's they're not big changes, but it's enough to notice.
It's encouraging.
It is.
There's a lot we need to get a little bit better at, but we are moving in the right direction, I think. And it's encouraging. It's sad that it's as painful a process as it is, but we'll get there.
And upon reflection, I wish I mean, hindsight, I wish I would have known sooner, but we're here now.
Yep.
And we're going to do our best now, and I think that's important. And I think it's also important to note that when you walk through our school now, you can feel a noticeable difference in a very positive way. You can look in classrooms and see students engaged. You see students walking through the hallway, um, excited to go to motor time, PE, and there's organization, they're following directions, and there's always exceptions that everyone has their bad days, but the overall impression in their school is it's so much more positive, just from the outside looking in, and I think that that's really really exciting, and it speaks to our staff's efforts, the work of Janelle in the interim role, and also parents. I know there's long-term involvement, so it really speaks to the community as a whole and the effort that we're all putting in to make sure that we're doing the right things and we're having a safe and engaging environment for our students. They just need to keep it up. And also on a side note, it is Teacher Appreciation Week next week. I know the SEC is organizing some fun things. I got a whole bunch of thank you cards. I think someone else has a whole bunch of thank you cards. I got markers, I got pens. We're gonna get a table and set it up so you can do thank yous. And we're going to provide meals, I think, like light meals like donuts, sandwiches, people bringing chips and drinks. So each day there's a different thing. It's in our parents' work, but it is there. So if you wanted to bring something by or just say thank you or use nice or flowers, whatever, this is a great opportunity to say how much we appreciate our staff and all the things that they do for our students. So well, if that is it. We're all good. I'm going to adjourn this meeting. Public meeting moderator will be adjourned at 6:18 p.m. Thanks for coming.
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.